Good afternoon and welcome to the 2022 graduation ceremony for Bandung Alliance Intercultural School. The incredible Melissa Hall will be around taking photos of the graduates today. These photographs will be made available to students and their families afterward. Please remain seated and join me in welcoming the class of 2022. Graduates, you may be seated. I would like to extend a special acknowledgement to each of the following groups. First, Bandung Alliance Intercultural School is blessed with an incredible teaching and support staff. They are to be highly commended for their investment in the lives of students, specifically in each of these seniors before you today. Thank you for your expertise, professionalism, and your love for our students. It is a privilege to be serving the Lord with you at His school. Second, I would like to thank the members of the Directors Advisory Council of BAIS today. If you are a DAC member, would you please stand? We are so grateful for the countless hours and energy that you have sacrificed to help our students this year and sacrifice serving at the school. Mrs. Sang-hee Park, Mrs. Linda Chandra, Mr. Jonathan Gunthorpe, and Mrs. Melia Basaria. Thank you for your service. You may be seated. Third, yes. Third, I would like to thank all of the family, friends, alumni, BAIS students, and guests who are with us here today. Parents, you are to be highly commended for your investment that you have made to bring your child to this milestone event in their lives. On behalf of the school, thank you for the opportunity that you have given us to partner with you and your child. Thank you for joining us in this wonderful celebration today. Having just returned from spending 5 days with our 12th grade students on their senior trip, I'm once again reminded of just how special this group of students is. I would especially like to thank those long-term families who have partnered with BAIS for many years. The following students have attended BAIS for 10 or more years. If I call your name, please stand. Malguin Halatu, 15 years. Junha Kang, 11 years. Stephanie Kusmana, 15 years. Junhyun Lee, 10 years. Sangyun Nam, 10 years. Danielle Jeremiah Tanujaya, 14 years. Please give these students a hand. You may be seated. Thank you for your loyalty and support for BAIS for such a long time, more than a decade. Now, to the podium, I would like to invite Bapak Chevi Halatu. Pak Chevi is a senior parent and a member of our BAIS field leadership team and will lead us in a prayer of invocation.
Mari kita dedikasikan hari ini, acara ini kepada Tuhan. Mari kita berdoa. Ya Tuhan Allah kami yang bertata di dalam kerajaan sorga, pada saat ini kami bersyukur untuk dapat diberikan kesempatan pada saat ini Tuhan, untuk dapat merayakan wisuda murid-murid kelas 12 ini di BAIS. Kami sungguh-sungguh bersyukur atas kemurahan dan penyertaan-Mu ya Tuhan, sehingga mereka dapat menyelesaikan studi mereka dengan baik. Walaupun banyak tantangan, banyak hambatan, bahkan stres untuk deadline yang harus mereka kerjakan. Namun kami tahu Tuhan bahwa Engkau menyertai mereka, dan Engkau selalu menolong mereka yang berseru kepadamu, sehingga mereka mampu untuk bertekun dalam iman mereka, dan juga dalam studi mereka. Pada saat ini juga kami tahu dan meyakini bahwa Engkau sendiri ya Tuhan akan bersama dan menuntun kami dalam acara hari ini. Dan kami juga memohon ya Tuhan, ketika kami semua merayakan keberhasilan murid-murid kelas 12 ini, izinkan kami ya Tuhan untuk menunjukkan kebanggaan kami, sukacita kami atas segala hal yang mereka telah capai selama proses pendidikan di sekolah kami di BAIS. Sertai kami ya Tuhan dalam acara hari ini dari awal sampai akhir. Kami menyerahkan acara ini ke dalam tangan-Mu, dalam nama anak-Mu Tuhan Yesus kami berdoa. Amin. I would now like to invite Mr. Julian to present the Outstanding Senior Scholarship.
Every year, the staff of Bandung Alliance Intercultural School is deeply blessed by their students. The experiences and memories generated by the time spent with you, students, are priceless. This scholarship is funded by our past and present teaching and office staff and is an outpouring of our love. Through it, we want to recognize and honor one BAIS senior each year who has demonstrated a servant's heart, character, and leadership potential. This year's recipient is a student who I have loved watching grow since he first came to BAIS. Over the years, he has become a spiritual leader, a mature, curious thinker, and someone who honestly owns his strengths, yet is the first to admit that there are areas that he can be better in. Over the years, he has demonstrated incredible respect toward his teachers and others. He listened and learned and courageously asked questions when he did not understand something. He demonstrated perseverance, pushing himself in AP classes, on the athletic field and court, and in drama. But he didn't just push himself. He challenged those around him to be better, not taking lightly the leadership and influence he had on others. His successes in these areas was also due to his careful approach and attention to details as he sought out excellence in all he did. He was an example of integrity, doing the right thing, and working hard even when people weren't watching. He humbly encouraged and sought out those who were younger than him. He understood that there was always something more for him to learn, and he did not let his accomplishments, like scoring 2 goals to win the soccer ISAC tournament, puff him up with pride. After winning that tournament almost 3 years ago, I was so excited for the coming 2 years. We had a young team, and I saw so much potential in our upperclassmen. This student was one of those upperclassmen, and I could not wait to see how he was going to lead and pour into and mentor those younger players. COVID stole those opportunities, and I can only imagine now what would have happened. But in spite of all of that, I am so proud of the young man he has become. COVID has shaped all of us, but this young man rose above the challenges and chose to see COVID as an opportunity to grow and to get better. So it is with great honor that I, on behalf of BAIS staff, would like to present the Outstanding Senior Scholarship to Sandor Bentema. Congratulations, Sandor. Now please welcome Miss Beth Lamertha and Mr. Michael Davis to present more student awards.
For each award, graduates will be invited to stand and be recognized. You may applaud after each group of graduates. Thespian Society members are recognized by their dark blue honor cords. Thespian Society recipients, please stand. The International Thespian Society was founded in 1929 to recognize the dedication, hard work, and quality performance of high school students in the theater arts. Students accepted into this society are recognized as thespians, named after the first actor, an ancient Greek performer by the name of Thespis. To be recognized as a thespian, student performers must contribute a minimum of 100 hours in theater, whether that be on stage as a performer or off stage as a technician and crew member or manager. Graduates, you may now be seated. Advanced Placement International Diploma candidates are recognized by green cords. Advanced Placement International Diploma candidates, please stand and remain standing until I tell you to sit. APID is a globally recognized award to international students attending secondary schools outside the U.S. It requires students to display mastery on a minimum of 5 AP exams across several specific disciplines and represents an exceptional level of achievement. Graduates, you may now be seated. Now, please welcome Mr. Davis to present more awards.
Okay, National Honor Society members are recognized by their white stole. So NHS members, please stand. The BAIS chapter of the National Honor Society recognizes students who have demonstrated excellence in the areas of scholarship, leadership, service, and character. BAIS students are considered for NHS if they have a cumulative GPA of 3.50 or higher. Students then must complete an application process. Applications are reviewed by a faculty council to determine who will be invited to join. So in addition to scholarship, their leadership, character, and service are key considerations for induction. Graduates, you may now be seated. Now please welcome Mr. Julian to present more awards.
Honor graduates are recognized by the gold cords. Honor graduates, please stand. Students who have achieved a cumulative grade point average of 3.67 or higher are recognized today as honor graduates. It is my pleasure to recognize the hard work and commitment that these students have put into their studies to achieve this honor. You may now be seated. Eagle Living recipients are recognized by the silver cords. Eagle Living recipients, please stand. These students provide service to their community and to the BAIS community outside of normal school hours. The heart behind this award is to develop a lifestyle of service in the students at BAIS, to mobilize them to see beyond the walls of school and to seek to become a part of the larger community around them. Mark 10:45 says, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve." Graduates, you may now be seated. Distinguished diploma recipients are recognized by their red cords. Will the distinguished diploma recipients please stand? During their high school course registration, students are given the opportunity to take classes beyond the minimum requirements for graduation. Students who complete courses of study that include additional courses in math, science, social studies, and foreign language earn the distinguished diploma. They graduate earning at least 28.5 credits. These students are recognized by the red cords they are wearing today. Graduates, you may be seated. Mr. Cantor will now share information about this year's salutatorian.
Each year, BAIS recognizes the seniors with the two highest cumulative grade point averages for each graduating class. The Salutatorian Award is given to the student who achieves the second highest cumulative grade point average. Following recognition, we will give this student a sash, medal, and certificate, followed by a short address. It is my honor to recognize the recipient of this year's award, Danielle Tanujaya.
Okay, to start my speech, I would actually like to start with a complaint. Please don't tell me I'm salutatorian on the last 2 days of the senior trip. While everyone else was enjoying themselves at the beach, I was worried about having to give a speech in front of 200 people. And here I thought I would be done after writing my Bible thesis. Well, that's enough about me. Congratulations, class of 2022. You've made it. Here we are at the so-called peak of your school life. But I'm sure for some of you, it doesn't feel that way. It feels as if just recently, our class has started to become more unified, and now we will all be going our separate ways. Part of this is because of the pandemic. Most of our high school years were spent online, and it is with regret that I admit that we honestly didn't spend much time together as a class during that time. Despite all the time we lost together, I think that just made this year much more meaningful. But before we talk about this year, let's go back to the very beginning. Preschool 4, I remember nothing, absolutely nothing. Maybe that's a little too far back. Let's talk about lower elementary. Right from the start, we were a very troublesome class. We would do whatever we wanted, and we would rarely follow instructions. In first grade, we had a substitute teacher for reading time, and we literally lied to the teacher, telling her that we were allowed to build a pillow fort. No reading was done that day, that's for sure. Of course, the principal came in the next day to lecture us on why this was wrong, but I'm pretty sure none of my classmates really cared. That's just the type of class we were, united in our troublesome nature. Moving into upper elementary, nothing really changed. The only thing that did change was that the consequences were just far worse. I'm sure many of you remember our 4th grade teacher, Miss Ripley. She was very strict, so you can probably guess that this was a pretty hard time for our class. Many of us would stay in the classroom for recess because we would never finish our homework or we were just causing a ruckus in class. But there was one kid who was the worst out of all of us. I promise to you that I did not see Rainer ever out in recess for the last 2 quarters of 4th grade. I love you, Rainer. Anyways, moving on to middle school, something changed in our class. I'm not sure whether it's the new people joining or puberty starting to hit, but we suddenly became very quiet, at least during classes. And a teacher could literally ask us what 2 + 2 is, and nobody would respond. Sadly, this has stuck with our class to this day. But despite being extremely quiet in classes, we were quite the opposite outside of the classroom. Constantly, we were making jokes and always finding ways to break the rules. Not allowed to use your phone? Just go to the bathroom and open it up. I won't be exposing who did this, if you were curious. We were in that stage where we were trying to find who we are. Some of you started to join artistic and athletic clubs. Others of you chose to focus on your academics and studies. But most importantly, every single one of you started to grow. But of course, not everything was rainbows and sunshine. One defining feature of our class in middle school is that we were very stubborn. Something that always comes alongside being stubborn are fights. And our class had a lot of fights with each other. In fact, it got so bad at one point that the school organized a field trip just so that our class could have a time of reconciliation with each other. However, I think this field trip marked a turning point in the way people saw each other. This is the first time I've ever seen the boys in my class so vulnerable and honest. I remember sitting around the campfire and just taking turns confessing personal problems we were dealing with. It made us all realize that we are just people with our own goals and problems. Moving on to high school, everyone in our class had 2 common desires: growth and unity. In terms of growth, I would say we have done a pretty good job. I've seen introverts step out of their comfort zones and become outgoing leaders. I saw our athletes push through the losses and become ISAC champions. The growth I've seen in my classmates, both in their character and faith, have been phenomenal. However, the same cannot necessarily be said about our desire for unity. We wanted to really be united as a class, and not just in our troublesome nature. I saw this desire expressed quietly in 9th and 10th grade. Some boys actually started talking to the girls, and we actually had some hangouts together outside of school. But then COVID happened, and along with it, our class time together for the end of 10th grade, all of 11th grade, and part of 12th grade. Coming back to school during our senior year, something clicked. Our class realized that it's now or never. The journey to unity wasn't easy, and there were definitely sacrifices, most of them financial. Fun fact, Connor didn't want to come to our class dinners unless someone was paying. You're welcome, Connor. So the question remains, did we get there? Looking back on the senior trip, I am quite happy to say that we did. I saw our class united. We cared for one another. We were honest with one another, and we had fun with one another. We made it, and it was definitely worth it. But none of this would be possible without the teachers. So thank you to all the teachers who have changed the lives of all of us seniors through your words, teachings, and actions. And I would like to give a special shout out to Miss Amerta with her famous AP Bible class, who I know has been life-changing for me and every single senior in our class. Even then, none of this would be possible without the support of all of you parents. So thank you. Thank you to all the parents who made the decision to support and invest in your children. I'm sure your dedication and actions have impacted and helped shape the people they are today. Lastly, I would like to thank each and every person in the class of 2022. But I think thanking the class as a whole would be pretty boring and would not do the amazing people my friends have become justice. So I'll be thanking each of you individually. Prepare yourselves because this might take a while. First, let's start with Juna. Thank you for being an amazing friend, leader, and instigator. You're always the person initiating class activities, and the main person that pushed me out of my introverted stage. I remember moments where we would play games at midnight, and then I would randomly dare you to come to my house, all the way from Cotabaru. The following words are the exact words you would reply with. "You think I won't." 30 minutes later, you would actually be in front of my house with Jake and Rainer, inviting me to drive around. Rainer, yes, you are still a part of our class, even though you left, technically. Thank you for being like a brother to me. We did everything together, and I'll never forget getting lost in Singapore with you. Fred, Jake, and Michelle. I put all three of you together because you're like a group. Thank you for always bringing the excitement and fun in our class. It can be tiring at times, but I can't even count the amount of times I've been brought to tears from laughter because of you. Magwin, thank you for always being curious. The questions you ask are always so difficult to answer, but some of them have been life-changing, and have changed my views on crucial topics. Sangyun, thank you for always finding the good in the bad. You're always cheerful, no matter what the situation, and you have taught me the importance of joy. Connor and Sandor, thank you for being the only two Boulets in our class. I'm just joking. Thank you for your leadership and faith. Both of you are so passionate about your faith, and I believe that you two have helped shape our God-loving class. Are you guys still with me? We're almost there. Ode and Steffi, you know, it's crazy that we've been in the same class for who knows how long, but we just started talking this year because we both got rejected from the same university. Thank you for showing me how to have fun. You two constantly encourage me to try new things, and I've come to enjoy a lot of things I never thought I would because of both of you. Merlina, thank you for always persevering. I know it's been hard for you to become a part of our class since you joined during the pandemic, but during the senior trip, I saw you having fun with everyone else, and that's when I knew you were the missing piece our class didn't know it needed. And last but not least, Karen. Thank you for being the role model of the class. You are insanely smart and super hardworking. I honestly think that you deserve to be up here instead of me. You lead by example and always push others to be better. To top it all off, thank you to the class of 2022 for all the precious moments. See you later.
Thank you, TJ. Great speech. The Valedictorian Award is given to the student who achieves the highest cumulative grade point average of the graduating class. Following recognition, we will give this student a sash, medal, and certificate, followed by a short address. It is my honor to recognize the recipient of this award, Malgwen Halatu.
It has been on my mind lately how these last few days felt like a magnification of a lot of my time here. So I wanted to share. Let me explain. One moment I was surrounded by these lively, fun-loving people whose energy I felt like could never run out, staying awake at times that would be absurd on a normal school day. We were having a lot of fun, and I was happy to have this company. But it couldn't last forever. While each of us hopped off the plane back in Bandung and went our separate ways, understandably exhausted by the events of the past week, that sinking feeling that held on to me before returned to me. I told myself that everyone had left me and abandoned me again, that nobody cared, and if they would care, they would have reached out and asked me if I was okay. These fake worries continued to pile up, making it increasingly difficult for me to write a genuine address, even though part of me knew that these worries were not quite so true. To think that even by now, I'd still be procrastinating until the morning of, yet one thing remains, I didn't want to be alone. As I see it now, it was only me who was holding on to these worries. I would like to formally apologize once again to the senior class for taking your company for granted all this time. It didn't feel right when I first apologized, yet despite how I felt, you and the community here proved me wrong each time. Thank you. Even though I cannot necessarily speak for everyone, I'm sure that other people can relate to this feeling, especially through 3 unexpected lockdowns that hindered our learning and productivity, canceled events taking away all the fun, and all in all, a couple of years where the future was more uncertain than ever. I confess that there were even more times when I felt afraid of what's to come, afraid that I'd walk out of this room alone, afraid that none of my minimal expectations for this conclusive day that would be met, or afraid that I would not change. I'm sure that there will be more of these times to come and these worries. But when we encounter any one of these hardships, it seems almost natural to try to take the problem into our own hands at first. Then we realize that we aren't the ones that are in control of things. I urge you that during these times, not to forget that the God who is in control of the past is still in control for the foreseeable future. It is a hard thing to believe at times, but it doesn't make it any more untrue. Looking back, we may recall how many of the moments in which we have been blessed, we might not even have foreseen at all, such as how in my darkest hours, I was randomly introduced to a group of boulets I never really talked to, only for them to be the most caring and loving people in my life, calling me to do all sorts of little things, random things like music or drama. Or despite how the circumstances we were met with at the beginning of this year, eventually the basketball teams were able to partake in their long-awaited competition, or that this class was able to still spend meaningful time together before we graduate, and today stand in this ballroom in front of hundreds rather than fewer. Then why should we doubt that He will surprise us again in the future? Perhaps it is all too optimistic to say that we should try to stay positive during all the bad times, but that's not to say that we should ever lose hope. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for today will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own, says Matthew 6:34. The class of 2022, along with the classes that preceded it, and the classes that will succeed it, is no stranger to stress and hard times. But when that sinking feeling comes to you, be sure to refocus yourself on what is true and what has been true in the long term, rather than what your temporary worries may tell you. Let us also remember how God tends to send his hope to us, that is through other people. Now, as TJ has mentioned, our community, our teachers, and parents have contributed greatly to this class. That cannot be denied. Although, through loss and shortages, perhaps our facilities may have understandably struggled in recent years to meet up to expectations previous years have set up, we see that some of you have traveled across the world and made big sacrifices just to invest in us and show love to us, even unconditionally. Amidst everything else, I believe that is truly commendable. How could we possibly pay you back? Well, looking forward, I think we can do so at least by continuing to invest in others ourselves, giving our time and energy to those who are still growing and asking questions we may know some answers to, and forwarding the ultimate gift given to us, that is God's love. That's what I think. When we are told to change the world, I believe this is how, whether we aim to instruct others to be just as good at sports as us, or pick up teaching to see other students pick up the things we've learned at school, or inspire others to be as passionate at the things we are passionate in, like art, design, science, video games, or even just to be there for someone. It might not be changing history or solving global warming, but through investing in more lives by showing them the love and care we grew up with, making the world a better place. We're making the world a better place little by little. I may not know exactly, but because I'm still in the same boat as all of you, but the adults in this community, the adults around us can surely testify that there's so much more joy in doing that than by making another dollar for ourselves. Yet looking around us right now, everything is saying that we are ready, that our experiences have shaped us into incredible, skillful, but also adequately caring people. The wisdom of Mr. Martha's lectures, the abruptness of Mr. Squire's surprise summatives, the sometimes unfair difficulty of your physics tests, and the significance of knowing where the Calvin cycle takes place in the plant cell, in the stroma. I think these have made us amply prepared for the outside world, showing us how to think for ourselves, how we can learn more about who we are and what we're interested in, and how it means to not curse but bless those who curse you, says Romans 12:14. And as TJ correctly testified, we've definitely succeeded in growing and uniting as a class. Honestly, I sometimes doubt this as I look into the world. As you know, it's perfect, imperfect, plagued, scary. And I feel like I've only experienced a fraction of it. Like a scared puppy who's never been in a thunderstorm, it's easy to cower in fear and hide underneath the counter. But I do have hope that if we keep doing what we've been doing and keep doing what we've been taught we're doing, to bless and do not curse, to rejoice with those who rejoice, to be joyful in hope and patience in affliction, and as much as we can, be at peace with everyone. We may find our lighted paths through the murkiness of the world, just like we have been so far. As you might know, Romans 12 holds great significance to how I've come to this conclusion. So, congratulations, truly, for making it so far through this academically rigorous course, and as well as the emotional roller coaster that is high school. Class of 2023 and beyond, I will sum up everything I want to say by saying this: good luck. But as our Bible teacher continually pressed many times, we are not done growing, as we'll be met with further emotional, physical, and spiritual challenges. We will continue to be shaped into the people God intends for us to be. As we'll stress over future college tests, train for sporting events, struggle through senseless breakups, or lose even more wallets, we can remember that all of it, it's a part of life, and we can learn from the experiences thrown at us as we go and keep growing. Ultimately, we will find out what it means for each of us to be ready. There may be discouraging times where one of us might feel like we're behind, but again, from the beginning, we are never alone. There will always be people around us to pick us back up, if at least we look for them. Finally, I think TJ summed up my direct thoughts pretty well about each of our classmates with the shout-outs, so I won't reiterate. Class of 2022 and others, I look forward to the time when we will meet again, share each other's stories, and laugh at how much we've embarrassed ourselves in recent years, as well as how much we have grown from those embarrassing yet enlightening moments since we last met. Genuinely, I can't wait to catch up and see you all as more mature, Christ-centered people, because I know that's what you all will become. You will all make us proud. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this class. Before I go, I would now like to invite Connor Truloff to the podium to introduce our keynote speaker for the event.
There's no way that I will be saying anything as much and as impressive as what Melbourne and TJ have said today, but yeah, when I found out that that we needed a keynote speaker someone to introduce a keynote speaker for our class, we were still on a senior trip, and we'd just been going through a very long and intense day of water sports, and getting thrown off banana boats and donut tubes at full speed. And we were all tired, and we all thought, we should let our Stuco Prez have one more speech. Junha? And then we also thought, Sandor, maybe he could do it. And everyone was throwing words all over each other to decide who would speak, so I thought, yeah, I'll do it. I thought I would introduce our keynote speaker because we as a class, and I personally, have a fun and close relationship with our speaker. Our keynote speaker loves to make jokes, tell stories, and he's always open to talk. He just knows when something's up. He knows when help is needed. He has helped us get through school, helped us grow spiritually, and has always been open for anything. Our speaker has a Bachelor of Arts degree and teaching licenses from New Mexico and Texas. He has taught in America for 15 years before coming to BAIS and has taught at BAIS since 2012 for the past 10 years. He has taught in public, tribal, and Christian schools. This year, our class has become a lot like a family, which Melbourne and TJ have already said, going through fights, hanging out, and having fun. But all in all, we have grown together. This would not have been possible without someone there to help us get through those hard things, and without a person to joke around with and have fun with. The person who did this for our class was Mr. Squires. Mr. Squires is the same person inside and outside of the classroom, always messing with us, making sure everything is clear as mud. We love you, Mr. Squires, and we will truly miss you, and you'll never be forgotten. Why don't we all give a big hand for Mr. Matthew Squires?
Thank you. Oh, you guys actually, whoa, hey, I'm hot. Okay. You guys actually like me? So, it's an honor to be up here in front of you guys and all of y'all. You know, with COVID being the way it is, it's kind of a limited number of seats, and this is kind of good because you can, yes, no? Oh, mask, that's what it is. Thank you. I didn't want to wear this thing anyways. So, does it mean I have to start all the way over? So, I mean, since I'm last, I can go like for 2 or 3 hours, right? I intentionally skipped my college graduation because I didn't want to go through this. So, you guys are okay, right? So, no, where the heck was I? What was I talking about? Oh, community. So, I want to talk, before I get to my speech, about thanking all of you guys, parents, family, and friends. One of the themes that you kept seeing as we had the senior banquet the other day, last week, was it? Was it just a week ago, right? Was community, and how you guys need to get plugged into a community wherever you go, and how you're leading this community. But we at BAIS don't have a community unless we all work at it together. And us as teachers cannot teach well if we don't have the support of the family and friends. And so I just want to say thank you guys for all of you out there that have been a part of these children's life. They're not really kids anymore. They're growing up and all. But I like to call them kids because it annoys them. But that's the truth, all right? And so you guys deserve a round of applause for being part of a community. BAIS has a community because of this, and it's special. It really is one of the things that's different about our school and what we have. So give yourselves a round of applause for that. The other thing, I was talking about COVID and how it's limited seats, right? And so you can kind of disinvite the crazy uncle or those cousins that you don't really want to be part of an actual event because you're afraid they might embarrass you, right? Unfortunately, since I'm Keynote, I was let in. Don't worry, it'll be okay, all right? Before I give my speech, I wanted to give you guys each something, okay? And I'm going to give it each to one at a time, so it's going to be a little long. But I'm giving each of you a keychain. Melvin, keep asking questions. Your faith journey is just that. It's a journey. And don't be afraid to ask those tough questions and keep going and doing that. But don't let what you don't know prevent you from being obedient in what you do know, okay? Odalyn, you always smile. Even behind the mask, you smile. And there's a light about you because you love serving others. And so I would just encourage you to continue doing what you've been doing. You were involved in a myriad of activities outside of school, and it's a wonderful thing. And people need to see that light, and you need to point the way. So continue doing that. Karen, you guys look so different with your masks and hats on. It's like some of you look like clones or something. You don't, though, okay? So Karen, for you, I just wanted to say, and I think TJ hit upon it, there is a work ethic about you that is phenomenal, and you work hard, and you're inquisitive, and you're kind of quiet about it. And what I'd like to see as you go into college is that you continue doing what you're doing, but drag others along with you into that work of excellence, because you have a lot to share, and you can bring people together as a leader and as a servant to point them in the right direction. Merlina, you have been quiet, and you have been a little hesitant at times to turn in work and things like that, but you know what? You are exceptionally bright, and you need to not hide that. So continue doing your work, and don't be shy. Michelle, the girl that always asks questions, right? Keep asking those questions, kind of like Melvin. You ask tons of questions all the time, and they're inquisitive and they're good. And I'd encourage you to ask not questions just about the material, but about yourself now. Why are you doing what you're doing? Where are you going, and why are you going there? And so keep asking the questions of others, but also of yourself. Steffi, it's been such a blessing to just see the college application process and how that impacted you and your parents' life. I remember, when was that? I don't remember the exact date, but I remember you and another person said, Mr. Squires, what do you think about community college? And it's neat to see how God closes one door only to teach you the lesson that you really needed to know. And so just remain flexible. That's why James says, Lord willing. We make our plans, but we always say, Lord willing. Should I go back this way or go in between? I don't know how this is going to work. Jake, right? Jake, you got guts. The speech you gave at chapel is a summary of what you're like. You were willing to tell others not to be afraid to love their parents, to hang out with their parents, and say that you love them. And that takes a lot of guts. And so don't forget and don't quit loving others. Sandor, you've had some ups and downs over the last few years, and it's been neat to see how you've gone from this middle school kid that wasn't quite sure, well, now I'm going to yet another international school at a new country. My dad's dragging me all over the place, right? But look how you fit in, and look how God has used you over the years, and how you've learned to serve God well. And so keep continuing to do that also. Junha, I remember talking about black holes with you. These time-sucking, no, not physics, man, no. Okay, you're like, wait a minute. We talked about these things that suck our time, right? I remember there was a time where you used to stay up really late, and it was either YouTube, anime, or God knows what else, right? But what you've learned recently, right, is to put that aside, and how real-life interaction with people is far better than any tech obsession. And so that's a great lesson, and you need to encourage your roommates and stuff like that when you go to college, and even the guys in the military, right? Songyun, it's amazing to think how a few questions, just short conversations over a span of years, can change the course of someone's life and can have an impact where they say, wow, that person's really made a difference in my life. We've never had like long, super hour-long discussions, but it's just been little conversations over the years. And I want to encourage you to do that with others as well. Don't feel the pressure that, oh my gosh, this 2-minute conversation is going to be something that is going to change their life forever. But just be obedient to God, and as He talks to you and prompts you to say stuff, be bold enough to say it. Fred, I'm going to have to get a drink of water. I'm talking too much. Fred, you're a softie, right? Like I've seen you struggle over the years sometimes with the blessings you've had. And how is that fair or unfair? And what am I supposed to do with that? And then I hear during the times of COVID, you and your mom started this business just for doing, to outreach to a community that was hurting and stuff. And it's not wrong to have wealth. It's not wrong to be successful. But the question is, how do you use that? And you've already started to explore that, and that's really neat. So keep that heart and that sensitivity to the needs of others. That's a real neat thing to see. Connor, do you remember the cubes? I remember you doing all these Rubik's Cubes, and I remember he got so excited. I think you brought it back from Australia. It was this little thing that you touched the pad to go, and then you turned it, and then you put your hands down or something, right? This guy would be in my room at lunch doing Rubik's Cubes while other people were outside. And now he's never in my room at lunch. And I don't think it's just because he doesn't like me. I think it's because he has learned that, yes, it's cool to know Rubik's Cubes and puzzles and things like that, but life is outside. Life is with others, okay? TJ, I hope I didn't steer you too wrong in our cryptocurrency discussions. I'm about 75% down right now, so we probably shouldn't talk about this right now. But what's been amazing is the fun conversations we've had just here and there. You have grown in wisdom over the years. I haven't got to teach you, and about half of you over the years because you've gone on the AP track, which is great, right? But you've got this innate ability and wisdom to learn from mistakes and to cut an obsession when it needs to be cut. And that's not an easy lesson to learn, and adults struggle with that even today. And so it's neat to see how you have done that, and so I encourage you to continue to go on the track you're going, but ultimately share that wisdom with others. God has blessed you as well. Guys, it's been a blessing to be a part of your life. And for those of you in the audience, you can't see this really, but it's just a cheap keychain. Hopefully it lasts a little while. If you notice what's on it, there's 3 things on it. There's an anchor, a word in Greek, and then the fish symbol. And so I just want to talk for a few moments about why I did this and why I thought about this. I remember Melvin and Junha that came and said, "Hey, Squires, do you want to be our speaker?" And I was like, "Is this a joke?" Right? And you guys know, I think most people know, I'm kind of a sucker as far as doing school activities. I have a hard time saying no. Just ask my wife. It drives her nuts. Erin, thank you for putting up with my nervous nights and stuff for the last week and a half. Okay? But once I started thinking about what to say, I started wondering, I started to think, and I just realized this the other day too, some of you I will never see again in my life. Ever. And that's a sobering thought. Like, you guys know I love to joke around. I love to have fun. I hope my speech isn't too boring, right? But ultimately, guys, if I had one last chance to talk with you, I'd like to take a moment to be serious. And I know that this isn't going to be the last moment because some of you will email and chat, and I want you guys to do that. I want you all to feel comfortable, not to just chat with me, but with Mr. Julian or Cantrell or any of your teachers. They would love to hear what God is doing in your lives. They would love to know how to pray. And so don't be strangers with us. But honestly, I've taught here 10 years now, and I could count probably on 2 hands, maybe 4 hands, how many conversations I've had with other kids in person after they've gone away from here. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You need to be part of another community. You need to have other mentors and other accountability partners. So it's not like I want you to talk to your 12th grade teacher for the rest of your life, right? I'm there for you, and Miss Lamertha, Miss Hall, others are as well. But what you really need, guys, is you need an anchor. You need an anchor, and you need an anchor point. And Hebrews 6 talks about this. It talks about how we have this hope, and I'm paraphrasing here, so don't get upset if I'm not doing it right, but we have this hope as a steadfast and sure anchor for the soul, right? And that anchor, guys, is Jesus Christ. It says that anchor goes into the innermost sanctuary behind the curtain, where Christ has gone before as a forerunner for us. And he's a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. And so you can put your anchor in different things, guys, but the most important place you need to be anchored to, the one thing you really need to be anchored to, is the truth and the work of Jesus Christ. And so I would encourage you guys, as you go off to college, the temptation is going to be to drift, right? Anchors are used on ships we normally think of for like storms, right? But they're actually used in docking procedures and just when they're in berth to keep them from drifting. And Piper, he has a sermon on this, and he says, drifting in the Christian life is deadly. Right? I've told you guys this before in class, and the students remember it too. You and I, Lord willing, are not going to be tempted to be axe murderers. We're not, right? It's going to be the small things that we compromise in. And that anchor point will keep you from drifting, okay? Now, when you put an anchor down in the ocean, there's slack, because there has to be slack so the line can give and take. Right? And in my life, I've drifted sometimes. I've gone and taken up that slack and gone too far in one direction. Sometimes it's been, TJ, with cryptocurrency. I'm watching too much video. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Right? This is becoming an idol, so I stop it. Right? For me, you guys know Tuesday is our Sabbath for our family because I drifted in serving others and wanting to help students till 12 a.m. in the morning. But then I thought, wait a minute, what is this doing to my family and encouraging these kids to do? So you pull back at times. And so the anchor symbol there is so that you guys can remember to be anchored in Christ. The Hebrew Christians were being tempted, guys, because of persecution and because of the world, to throw this Christian stuff away. I've been there, done. I don't want to do it. I'm free, right? But you don't want to go back. And so be anchored in Christ. The other thing is this word in Greek, it's Ichthus, okay? It's the word for fish in Greek. I'm not going to give you a whole Greek lesson because you guys know me, grammar ain't my strong suit, and I'd mispronounce most of the words. The last one you probably want to know, it looks like an E, but it's actually sigma, and there'll be some fraternities at college that are sigma, kappa, something, something, or whatever. Be careful about those guys, okay? I'm just saying, all right? But each letter makes the word fish in Greek. But what the Christians did, and we find these in writings and we find these in like gravestones around the 2nd century, they're the times of persecution. And the Christians started using the word fish as a reminder of their faith. And each letter represents a word. The letter starts, so like the first one's Yoda, right? Or Yoda, I forgot how you pronounce it exactly. But it stands for Jesus. Okay? And the second letter is Chi, and that is the word for Christ, or Christos. All right? The third letter is Theos, which is God. And the next letter, the fourth letter, is Huisos, I think is how you say it. It means son. And then the last letter is Sigma for Soter, which is Savior. And so if you put it all together, it means, or it says, Jesus Christ, God's Son, Savior. And it's a cool reminder about how we need to be anchored to the truth of the gospel, right? You and I need to know the truth of Scripture and how Christ was sent as God's Son to die in our place, to be that priest forever in the order of Melchizedek, so that we could have a relationship with Jesus Christ. So I want you to remember Jesus Christ, God's Son, Savior. That's an easy way of summarizing your faith. Okay? And then the last one is just the fish symbol. Sometimes you'll see this on a lot of cars in America, the bumper stickers or emblems and stuff like that. Sometimes they'll have like a cross in it. Sometimes they'll have Ichthus in the middle of it as well. And it's just an easy way of saying that I'm a Christian. Now, don't think that the Christians made this all up. The fish symbol was pagan long before the Christians got to it, but they commandeered it much like Christians do other things. They take things from culture and redeem them for the purpose of Christ, right? And that's what you and I are called to do. And so if you look at fish references, especially in the New Testament, guys, Jesus uses fish to feed the hungry, right? Jesus uses fish when he calls Peter and James and John and Andrew, and they have this fish, this net full of fish, right? And now he says, come, follow me, and I'll do what? I'll make you fishers of men, right? And so he provided them sustenance so they could go be disciples and not have to worry about their occupation, right? And then he does tell us all to be fishers of men as well. And so if you look at fishing, guys, fishing when Jesus was talking about that wasn't usually line fishing. You're sitting in a hammock and you've got your line and maybe you stick 5 poles in the ground. You just test them every once in a while, see if they're going and getting pulled. Fishing was hard work. It involved dragging nets out of a boat and throwing it into the ocean and then waiting and pulling them back up, right? And so it took patience. It took time. It took commitment. And that's what God is calling those of us who are followers of Christ to do, is to be fishers of men. And it's a long, arduous process, but our hope is in Christ, guys. Our hope is anchored in the fact of what he's done for us. And this isn't a hope like, oh, I hope I make it to heaven, or I hope we win ISAC. It's a sure and steadfast hope because it's done by Jesus Christ. It's a objective, not subjective, but an objective reality of what is going to happen. It's still hope because you're looking forward to it, but it's almost like a kid. I was reading a sermon or a blog about this the other day, and it talked about the hope is like a kid that has his dad say, hey, tomorrow I'm going to take you to the amusement park. We're going to Disneyland. How does that kid feel? He has this hope within him. Is there any doubt in that? There's no doubt. He knows his daddy's going to come through, and you guys do too. Look what God has done. You guys remember 8th grade. It was ugly. But it was wonderful too, because those hard times are also the times where God can work. And he did work in you guys. You did open up. You guys talked with each other. You cried with each other. And it really was a turning point for many of you. And I know some of you came later, but it does look like you guys have gelled as a class this last year. So don't regret that COVID is taking this from you. COVID has cheated me out of this and that. Certainly it has. But that's not what you need to focus on. What you need to focus on is the future and the hope that you have and how you have been called to do good works for Christ. Not to save yourself, but to be a witness for others. And so I just wanted to encourage you with this. This is what's called like an Ebenezer. It's a reminder or a remembrance of who you are and where you've come from. And I wanted it to kind of be practical so that maybe you could use it if you don't take it or you lose it. Not to name any names, right? It's okay, right? But if you lose it, it's okay. And we could order other ones. But, I just wanted to give you something that can be useful. I have it on my keychain as well. Most of us, when we have keychains, we have little other remembrances, right? Like on my keychain, you got my keys. But then this is a ghost ship from Star Wars Rebels. Do you guys know what Star Wars Rebels is? You should, right? How many years of episodes is this? I don't know. But that's kind of sad if I think about how many hours of my life I've wasted here, right? Okay, let me put this back. But my kids gave it to me. And so it's a remembrance of my kids, right? And so I want you to remember BAIS, but I want you to remember Christ. And so I wanted to give you guys this. And so thank you guys for the honor of teaching you. Thank you for sharing life with me. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, every year, the director usually comes up and says, this is the best BAIS class ever to graduate, right? And up to this point, maybe it is, right? And you guys are phenomenal. And we're all works in progress, and we will be praying for you and anxiously awaiting to hear what God is doing in your lives. So take courage. Be proud of the accomplishment you guys have had up to this point. It's neat to see that you've gone this far, but notice that God is there holding on to you as you hold on to him. So thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Squires. I think this might be the best graduating class BAIS has ever had, come to think of it. Recognizing the fact that these individuals comprising the class of 2022 have successfully completed all the requirements for graduation as outlined by Bandung Alliance Intercultural School and accepted by the Association of Christian Schools International and the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, we, the high school faculty and administration, are recommending the following students for graduation. At this time, Mr. Julian and I will present the graduates with their diplomas. They will also be presented with flowers, which will be for your parents immediately following the ceremony. Back row, please stand. Daniel Jeremiah Tanujaya. Connor James Truloff. Frederick Anderson Shu Yurianto. Nam Sangyun. Kang Junha. Sandor Maximilian Abraham Beintema. Yi Junhyun. First row, you may stand. Back row, you may be seated. Malgwin Reinhard Alexander Halatu. Adeline Deborah Netanya. Karen Victoria Lee. Merlina Christy Setiabudi. Michela Felice. Stephanie Kusmana. As Stephanie makes her way back to her seat, I would ask that our graduates please stand. We will now have a prayer. Yeah, you can set the items on your seat there. We will now have a prayer of dedication led by Mr. Jason Whitehurst.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. God, tonight we celebrate this amazing class of 2022 who have ended one season of their life and now step into another. So I pray a prayer over them with the words that you gave to Joshua as he was beginning a new season of leadership in his life. I pray over this class that you will remind them at every turn that if they keep you first, no one will ever be able to stand against them all the days of their life. Though they will face challenges, you will never leave them and you will never forsake them. I ask God that you help them to be strong and courageous in every way and that they will lead their generation well. I pray again, God, that they would be strong and very courageous and that they would be careful to obey all the commands of your word, and that they would not turn from the right or the left, that they might be successful wherever they go. God, I pray that they would keep your word always on their lips, that they would meditate on it day and night, and they would be careful to do everything that is written in it, because it is then and only then that they will truly prosper and be successful. So God, you give them these commands and we dedicate them to you tonight. Again, I ask as they leave here that they would be strong and very courageous, that they would not fear, that they would not be discouraged, for they will know that the Lord, their God, will be with them wherever they go. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Whitehurst. Graduates, please remain standing. It is my pleasure to present to you again the 2022 graduates of Bandung Alliance Intercultural School. Graduates, you may now turn your tassels. In just a moment, the class of 2022 will be dismissed. After recognizing their parents, they will proceed directly to their graduation tables located just outside in the lobby. Later in the afternoon, the class will gather for a group picture in this area, and we will take photos with just the class with their parents, and finally, when the seniors toss their graduation caps, the most momentous moment of each graduation ceremony. So, parents, special guests, please remain seated until you are dismissed. Thank you for joining us today, and my prayer is that God would richly bless these young men and women. Graduates, you are now dismissed. Now, parents and family members of our graduates, you are now dismissed to join them at their tables. All right, guests from the right side or the left side of the auditorium, you are dismissed as well.
That's so